I have to tell this on camera, right? Where do I even begin? The story happened throughout the last years of my high school. Right before the lockdown, I would realize some things that would give me anxiety for the next 2 years. First one was that I was already learning English at the time, and still I realized that my English wasn't actually enough to pass the exam to study abroad. That gave me such a level of anxiety and that stomach hurt that I sometimes couldn't even sleep at night. And the second one is also that I developed a major crush on a girl in my class. At the time, I was already a pretty anxious guy. In our high school, there were a lot of exams and all of them were brain-meltingly hard. I would sleep 5 hours at night. That was my routine. And thinking about exams, even though I thought I didn't care, they would still give me anxiety and a lot of it. About my crush, I was the type of guy, the overthinking, overanalyzing guy. So when the lockdown came, I would think about her a lot. And I'm not talking about creepily thinking. It's just that my mind was occupied with her a lot. It was a pretty strange feeling. It actually got to the point where I would dream about her. And when you think about dream, you think like once or twice, but they were more than 5 or 7 times that I dreamt about her. You know how it works in your mind. It kind of confirms everything you think about it. So that did not help at all. 2021 rolls in right after the lockdown is over. We are allowed to go back to school. One of the things that I remember is that I was really anxious about going back to school. Now, still, my English has improved to the point that you literally couldn't shut me up. I was always trying to talk, to speak in English. I was actually speaking more than the English teacher in our school, which really impressed her because before the lockdown, I didn't really speak. My grades were above average, but they weren't 99 percentile, which I would get always after the lockdown. The lockdown was actually when I improved, when I grew as a person a lot. It goes like this. The first day of the school, when you come back to school, like physically, offline, in reality, the first day of school, I go to the classroom and we are allowed to choose our seats. Now, I choose the one that I analyzed would be the best, which is right in the middle, because the teacher couldn't really see you. You could kind of cheat on exams, yeah. So I chose right in the middle, in the center of the classroom. Some time passes, the other people roll in as well, the class starts to fill up, and then my crush walks in, the girl, right? She literally comes up to me and asks whether she can sit with me. Well, of course, I say, of course. I'm shaking inside, but I don't face. At least I think I didn't. So she sits down, and it's like this for a half a year. Can you imagine this? You're sitting with your crush every friggin' day for a half a year. Your anxiety would be insane, right? And it was, obviously. My anxiety started at that time. I didn't even know what it was, but it did kind of start like that. In 2020, before the lockdown, when I thought about the exams and studying abroad, my anxiety started to build up at the time. When I went to school, there was always a lot of tension in my core. Like not in my torso, but literally around the abs and my core and my lower back. It was so tense that I could barely turn, basically. I would literally have to stretch it. Yes, that was anxiety. In 2021, the school starts and I sit with the girl. There's a lot of anxiety, right? The last year of school, you're thinking about college, you're thinking about exams. I had literally no idea what to do with my life. You're sitting with her, you're insanely anxious because a very stupid reason. I was afraid to fart, and I'm not saying like it is okay to fart. It is not in public places, but it was just that I didn't want to mess up like that. I didn't want to be embarrassed like that if I farted in front of her. So I would literally consciously sit there and think about not farting. Now that I think about it, it's a pretty stupid reason, but that did give me a lot of anxiety, and it did tie up my stomach to the point where I would literally throw up sometimes. I would go to the toilet and I would force myself to throw up because I thought I was poisoned or something. My stomach would be in such tension. Plus, I didn't want to fart, and the gases would build up as well. So yeah, I was afraid to fart in front of her. I had a lot of anxiety. That was the problem. And how do I know that it was an anxiety and all of that kind of thing, especially anxiety related to her? Because in all other places, except the school, except when I was around the people I cared or I thought about, I would not have an issue like that. When I was relaxed, when I was being present, I would not have an issue like that. It was literally only in school, because during the lockdown, the anxiety would all be in my head, not in my stomach, as most of the people do. I tried to cure the symptoms and not the problem itself. The problem was my anxiety. I should have solved the anxiety, but I tried to cure the symptoms instead. And the symptoms were, I would build up so much tension in my stomach that it could literally make me throw up. That was the symptom, not the problem. How do I know that it's a symptom and not the problem? The problem is the anxiety. For example, when a couple of months ago, when I moved to another country to here, for about 2 months, I had a massive tension in my lower back, and I remembered it because it was similar to the high school one, but it was a bit different. Then I tried to analyze everything, and I again learned that it was anxiety. So that was the problem, because I tried to solve it with stretching again. To solve my anxiety in high school, I started stretching. It didn't really help right until the end. I started stretching. I would get up at 5 a.m. because you have to go out of the house at 6 a.m. to get on the bus to not be late for school. I would get up at 5 a.m., do stretches for 20 minutes, pack up and leave. So that was that. I tried to stretch my core. It didn't really help because it was a symptom. I should have thought about the problems instead. And the problem was, again, anxiety. Even though I say should have, I am still grateful that it happened, because I learned so much about the muscle structure, about how to stretch, what to stretch, the amount of time you need to stretch, and a lot of those things that related to body and working out as a whole.